Hi everyone, welcome to my next video. I am gonna show you how to use mapping in Elasticsearch. Mapping in Elasticsearch is similar to a table schema in SQL. It defines how your documents and fields are stored in and indexed. You can control data types, analyzers, formats and more. Without mapping, Elasticsearch uses dynamic mapping to guess the field types. Here I open Kibana page where we will examine some behavior of explicit and dynamic mapping in Elasticsearch. Let's create a new index products, calling this endpoint, and add a new document to index requesting this endpoint. So here we have successful result, and we didn't specify explicitly mapping. And let's check mapping which Elastic dynamically defined for us. So here we have mapping for each our field here, and by default Elastic guesses data types if we didn't specify mappings using rules defined in official Elastic page. Here is a table with these rules specified, and if there is no rule for some special data type we want for our field, we should explicitly define it in mappings. But the best practice is to define mappings for each data type, even in the situation when it is correctly specified by Elastic dynamically. For example, Boolean. Even for Boolean, we should explicitly define this data type in our mappings. If there is no rule for some specific data type we want to use in our index, it will be ignored. Let's get back to Kibana and examine explicit defining of mappings. So let's delete our index because there is no way for changing mapping. We cannot change mapping when it is already created. So the only way is to delete index and create once again. So let's delete it and create our index products, defining explicitly our mappings. Let's request this endpoint and let's check our existing mappings. So here we can see mappings as we described in our request. And in situation when we add a new document to our index, which contains all fields defined here in mappings, and also there is a field which is not described in mappings. This field is description. I intentionally added this field description which is not specified here to examine the behavior of Elasticsearch. So I'm going to edit. Let's check mapping we have now. So here we can see mappings described from our request, and also there is a new field was dynamically added by Elasticsearch according to dynamic rules of Elasticsearch. And for string data types, Elasticsearch adds type text together with keyword. So the single field description behaves as text and keyword simultaneously, which can be useful for some cases, and for some cases it will be redundant and maybe we don't need it. That's why it will be better, as I said before, to explicitly define all fields. And for example, for cases when we created index with some specific mappings and then we decided to add another field to index and we want to specify mappings for it, we can do it calling another endpoint very similar to the previous one. So we created mappings and then we decided to add description of type text to it. So let's do it. So successful response, and let's check it. So here we have the list of correct fields and their data type. But we should remember that we cannot change data type for any field we already defined. So we will get exception. Let's check it. I'm going to define new field keyword. And here we have exception saying us that we cannot change it. And also I want to show you another behavior of Elastic for fields which were not defined. Let's add here behavior of dynamic mapping. Here I am going to specify false. Let's delete products index and create it with these new mappings with dynamic false behavior. And for this scenario, I am also adding new document with description, which is not specified in mappings. And let's check mapping once again. So there is no description field, even though I added products with description. And let's search by description. So here I have word mouse in description, and I'm going to search by mouse in description field, and I will get no results because this property wasn't defined in mappings, and Elasticsearch doesn't know how to behave with this field. But actually this document exists in the index. Let's add new field text, and let's check that there is this document with description, but it cannot be searched by description as it is absent in mappings. This is behavior with dynamic false. And also there is another mode of, let's check it. Let's check this behavior, and let's add products with this mapping, and let's try to add this document with description which is not specified in mappings. In this situation we will get error, and the reason is that as we use strict mode, we cannot add document with any field which is not specified in mappings. So let's remove this field description, and here I have situations that ID is also absent in mapping, so I'm going to remove it as well. So now I have successful result at last. That's it about mappings in this video. If there were some terms you are not familiar with, I will create other videos about Elasticsearch, about searching, about using different analyzer, about the behavior of different data types, where and why use some of data types. If this video was useful for you, please like it, write some comment, and subscribe. It's the best motivation for me to create more videos for you. Thank you. Bye.